So one of the I guess more unpleasant things of being an HVAC tech is that sometimes if you actually give a crap, right, you try to get to the bottom of the problem. And in some cases, it requires you to get into certain areas that are not the most pleasant per se. So if you're claustrophobic or don't like mice, raccoons, squirrels, rodents, spiders, which I actually don't like spiders, but that's beside the point. You may experience, an unpleasant, call from time to time, which would entail you to go into an area that is extremely small or unpleasant per se. So right now we're in a crawl space, kind of like I can actually, like, if you see this right here, this is my hand, this is actual, like, I'm touching the floor and I'm almost touching the top of the pipe. That's not like, it's like right there. Okay, so like you imagine I gotta squeeze through this pipe right now. That is no more than, like, put your hand like this. Like, hey, yep, that's it. So I gotta squeeze through that pipe, try to make myself back there, because I think what's happening here is they abandoned radiators, and there's an office area upstairs, which the people have been living here for the past 5 years, that is currently not getting any heat. And I believe they must have tampered with the old system and capped it off, and they have no idea about it. And they've been dealing with this for the past, like, 5 years. And I think that copper pipe might be what they cut off right there. So I gotta figure out, there's one on that side too, which is going through all these ductwork, so we're gonna have to make my way there too. But so we're gonna have to take a look at that and see. Yeah, because the original call was the customer wasn't getting heat in a particular area, but too much heat in the other area. And it turns out that the one particular thermostat where she's not getting any heat controls the heat on the opposite wall, which happens to be the kitchen. So obviously, since we're not reading a heat difference in that thermostat, the one area that the zone is on the same loop, it's just getting way too much heat, and the other area is never satisfying, so the heat continues to run in the other area, overheating it at times. And it didn't split it properly or anything. So this has been, again, one of those systems that has been, like, tampered with quite a bit. But yeah, I'll maybe we'll have to come up with some supplemental heating, or maybe like retie the radiators back into the existing system, or just figure something out where we can get heat in this one other area, so it can actually provide a more equal source of heat, so we can stabilize then the other area. But yeah, we'll go from there. Let's see if I can get in here. Hey. Oh, my back. Okay, we're in.
Now keep in mind, I am about 200 pounds, extremely small space, so it was a bit difficult. And also my back's messed up and my neck.
So this is a piece of copper pipe.
Yeah,
right,
not the easiest spot to get to, but ended up making my way there. So,
and
then obviously getting out was a bit difficult too, but we got it though. I mean, yeah.
I bet you they went up there. What is that? Is this a heat line? What the hell is this? Well, one's going up right there. That's a stack for plumbing. One's going up right there, the other's going all the way over there. And that shit continues on. Does it pick up that? Yeah, it is right there. So where does this 3/4 line go into? So we gotta figure out this 3/4 line situation and see where that goes into, because that's probably my problem right there. Which obviously it's ice cold. Yeah, let's go back. Okay. Ay, la concha de mi madre. Ay. Okay. So there's the other 3/4 line, which comes in back there. And it goes all the way back there. So
actually at this point I figured out that the those two 3/4 lines were actually tied into the basement zone, and I forgot to mention that here. But those lines that are tied into the basement zone on the boiler actually
I'll
heat
update
up
you
her
guys when I'm
office.
outside
So
to see
yeah,
what the outcome was of all of this.
you'll see later.
All right, so I just left the house. It's very, very weird. Like, her office is actually being controlled by a thermostat in the basement. The system has been reconfigured multiple times. Like, it used to be a manifold system. I mean, technically, still is a manifold system. But it has been like redone and reconfigured many, many times. So now, the solution, I ended up finding out that the Nest in the basement is actually not operating. It's not working. So we're gonna have to get a new Nest. She's gonna have to basically, because in order to rewire and like move things around, it'll be insane. The amount of cost that it will take, and just it's just she's gonna have to basically control that office with the thermostat in the basement. And I guess at one point that's how they decided to wire it, because it was more convenient. I guess prior to them moving to the home, that room was never really used, so it was kind of tied into that when they installed the boiler to now be in use essentially. So yeah, it's just one of those weird situations where, again, a Frankenstein type of system, and it's just been tampered with over and over again. But the fact that the Nest wasn't working is why they now had it. Like, this has always been a thing in the home since they moved in 5 years ago. But obviously now that the Nest in the basement wasn't operating, like, just so you guys know, those Nests have a 7-year battery life, and then that's it. Like, there is no more. I gotta clean my truck, man. It's kind of a mess right now, but yeah, not too much. But those Nests have a 7-year lifespan, and that's it. Like, they're good for 7 years, and then no more. There is no replacing batteries on those. They're good for 7 years, and that's pretty much it. So they're at about the 5-6 year mark, and they do have these like resistors in place to make the common wire for the Nest thermostat. Which, if you're gonna get a Nest thermostat or any type of like Wi-Fi thermostat or anything like that, you will typically require a common wire. Now Nest tells you, now they're owned by Google, but Nest will tell you, oh no, you don't need a common wire, you're fine. Bullshit. A lot of times you do end up needing a common wire. And this particular thing is a boiler, so it's just two wires typically coming from the boiler, so it would be R and W. In this case, we will need a common wire, and that's why they placed some resistors and some other stuff down in the basement, and in the manager, which I'll show you guys on my visit back here. Because basically we're gonna be replacing that thermostat in the basement, which is kind of like the source of all this issues that she's having. I've never been to this home, so it was my job to kind of figure out what exactly is going on and how the system is set up, especially when you walk into scenarios where things have been tampered with and cut off and redone and all this other stuff. You have to figure out what's going on, especially because the customer has no idea what's going on. So your job as a technician to figure out how the system's operating, what is it doing, what is it controlling, so that you can better explain to the customer what exactly is going on. So the original call was that the area was the kitchen area, which is a pretty decent sized kitchen area, and a small hallway entering to the kitchen area was extremely hot. Like, it was really hot. So the way that it is split up, basically, like she had. So let me see if I can do this. All right, so here we go. This would probably be easier to explain if I do this, right? So she has. So let's see. My artistic skills are not like on point, so just bear with me, okay? But this is good to know. Like, especially this is good to know if you're like stuck and want to figure something out. This is definitely good to know. So hold on. Let me see here. Okay, so getting back to the to trying to make you guys understand how I ended up finding this out. So the original call was that she was having too much heat in one area, which happened to be the kitchen, and in that little hallway, radiator. And then her office wasn't getting enough heat. And then what was the other thing? Oh, the one radiator was leaking, but that was just a packing nut that was like really loose, so we took care of that. But yeah, so let me show you guys, because it's a kind of a messed up situation. So basically, all right, so this is the home right here. All right, so let's split this into 3 different sections. And then here was the main door coming in. Door comes in. Door. Okay. So, and right here. All right, so this would be considered actually. All right, that's all fucked up. Yeah, because that's not accurate. So, all right, so actually. All right, so that was one area. This is the living room. And there's a thermostat here, okay? There's a thermostat in this. Keep in mind, these are actually walls, okay? So these are actually walls separating the rooms, okay? There's a living room here. Now you enter. Here's the door right here. Okay, you enter the door, and these are the stairs that go down immediately to the basement, okay? Going down. Now in this entrance here, this door, in this little entrance, there's a small radiator right here that was leaking. So that was a packing nut issue, which we took care of, okay? So now when we're making an immediate left here, this whole other area right here, this is the kitchen. So this is her kitchen. There's like a sunroom back here, but the sunroom is kind of irrelevant right now because this is tied into the same loop. So this, don't worry about the sunroom. So in here, there is, I will call it the red room or family room. The reason why I call it the red room is because literally like the walls are all red. Radiators are red. Everything's red in this room, okay? And then over here, it's very weird. This is her office. Okay? Now, they're all separated by walls, okay? The thermostat that controls the kitchen, this little guy right here, this radiator, like there's 2 radiators. There's one here, right? Radiator. There's one here, radiator. There's a radiator here on this thing by a window. There's a radiator here by this thing by the window. There's one more small radiator right here in this area. Then there is 2 radiators in her room, here and here, okay? These are the radiators here. Now, these 2 were not getting any heat, all right? Keep in mind, like there's a thermostat. So when you walk down to the basement, there's a thermostat right here on this wall, okay? Another thermostat right here on this wall in the basement, okay? Now, the thermostat controlling the whole kitchen heat, this guy, all of these, not these, is actually a thermostat on this wall here. Now keep in mind there is a opening right here. Actually, I fucked up. So there is an opening here. So this is kind of like open space from one room to the other, right? So the issue was that she was like having too much heat here. And then this is a really big open area, so she didn't really was too concerned with this, and a really big open window, so you couldn't really tell the difference here. But basically that's what the issue. Now what I found out was that basically I went down to the basement, took a look at the whole zone. It's an energy kinetics boiler down there, and it's got a manager system on it that basically with an injection loop, so I can see what zone is labeled what or whatever. So I went down to the kitchen zone. I tested a couple times. Now the kitchen zone is actually being controlled by this thermostat here. Now keep in mind, this is an entire wall, okay? We're separating the whole kitchen in this area from this thermostat. Now this wall, you might think, oh, just pop the thermostat to the other side. No, this is a big wall with a huge space in between, and there's cabinets on the other side and a bunch of other stuff here. This is her kitchen. So this is kind of a tricky situation to just be able to say, hey, yeah, I'm just gonna snake the thermostat from here to here and resolve that issue. And no, I mean, we can go with a wireless option, but that might be that's an option. But basically, I ended up testing this and found out that that's actually tied into this. So she asked, well, then this thermostat is not controlling the temperature here. And I said, no, unfortunately, it's not. It's controlling the temperature in all this area here, and along with this red room here, but not in here. So then she asked me, what is controlling the temperature in this room? So there's 2 radiators here, which are covered in this, casing with a metal mesh on it, sort of thing. So I removed the mesh, and I found that those 2 radiators were ice cold. And this area happens to be a crawl space, which you guys will see in the video. with the crawl space. This is that area, right? So I'm started looking around, and I'm like, what is controlling this area? So I finally found the 2 3/4 copper pipes in the basement and traced them back down to the boiler. Well, I traced them back down to the boiler, and I found out that the area controlling her office was controlled by the actual basement zone. And the basement zone happens to be this thermostat right here in the basement, right on the bottom of the stairs, that was actually off. Like no power present at the Nest. Like there was power. So the Nest, just so you know, they have a 7-year battery life, like I stated before. It was basically like just giving me a little green light on the top, but you press down and nothing happens. Try to remove the cover, test the power. Obviously, the 24 volts were there to between common and ground and R, but there was nothing. Like, and if you actually like clicked it, like if you actually jumped it turned on the zone for that area. I basically manually opened the zone valve for this for the basement, and then these 2 radiators in her office started getting hot. So clearly something has been reworked and done to the system, right? But she started saying, well, we never had this problem in the 5 years that we've been here. So I started talking to myself being, that's weird. But obviously this thermostat has been working the whole time that they've been here. So now the fact that this is not working, and we're going to end up replacing this thermostat, putting another Nest back in there, just because I'm not trying to make things difficult. We'll put another Nest back in there, pop it in, put a back plate on it, put the front plate, put the front piece, and then you'd be good to go. But the fact that this guy wasn't operating actually made her room right here not it made her room basically just ice cold, right? So then this thermostat was actually reading a lot lower temperature than if her room was actually operating based on whatever this guy was trying to keep up in the basement. So then that kind of evolved into this whole other issue. But now I explained to them exactly how everything's kind of going on, and we're going to try to resolve this and maybe rewire some things and move some things around and try to make things a little bit better for her. Maybe just set this, or I told her, like, listen, like, realistically speaking, you might have to set this a little bit higher. In the basement, all they have is just like 2 pieces of baseboard. So I don't think it's going to make a huge difference if she just keeps this a bit higher to provide the room in here. I mean, again, the basement temp, you really want the thermostat located in the areas where you're trying to provide you with your conditioned space, right? Your comfort. Otherwise, it's kind of difficult. So we might end up reworking some wiring, doing some stuff. But that was the kind of like the issue with this whole like call. Like, it ended up being like a diagnostic nightmare trying to figure out like what was what and all these other things. But the living room, they always thought that the living room thermostat controlled all of this, like all of the kitchen and all of this. And I'm like, no, the living room just controls like all of the living room, which is all in this area here. This thermostat in the basement actually controls 2 small baseboard in the basement, and then her office right here. These only 2 radiators. The thermostat here in this area controls everything in the kitchen. This small radiator here by the main entrance, and then this bedroom right here. These 3 radiators here. So so we got a bit of reworking to do, but at least now we know what the root of the problem was and how the system's laid out. So we'll have to come up with some options for them. But yeah. So I was just thinking about this. Another option could be replumbing those 2 radiators to come on the kitchen area or the kitchen manifold, or whatever zone is tied into that whole thermostat. That will probably make more sense because the thermostat is right there. But then my only concern is that the kitchen might not get as hot as what they really want it to be. So I don't know. I have to see what's going to be the best option. But that's another option, to replumb that and then see maybe we can tie it into that a zone for that thermostat too and see where we go from there. Next call: pipes making noise when the water turns on and off. Does not happen all the time. Plumbing. Could be a PRV, could be an expansion tank on the PRV system is failing. It is in an area where PRVs are prone to have issues. Could be a fill valve on the toilet. I've seen that before. So we'll go out there and check it out. Alright. What? Oh, it's gonna be a long day. They just added like 2 more calls on me. Well, all right, it's gonna be a long day. All right, guys, like and subscribe. Take it easy.